all of our center fire suppressors are 100% titanium. Titanium is not cheap.
No.
And everything is manufactured with such great detail that you're like, everything's going to be perfect. That suppressor got checked for runout. So, some other companies, someone that, people have known, like, I got this suppressor and the hole isn't in the center.
Welcome back to Whiskey and Windage, the 2A podcast for the people, by the people. I'm one of your co-hosts, Mike, joined by Adam and Matt. Adam, how are we doing today, bro?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited for this one. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks now, and we got a pretty cool guest today.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Matt, what about you?
Same. Real happy to be sitting down with my boys, and we have a great guest for today's Whiskey and Windage podcast, Mr. Sam Carlson from Thunderbeast Arms Corporation. Sam, welcome to the show, bro.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, dude, our honor.
Yeah, man, we're excited about this. Anytime we can talk about suppressors and long range shooting, we're definitely down. We're definitely down.
So, Sam, not everybody may know who Thunderbeast Arms Corporation is. So, introduce yourself, tell everybody what you do for the company, and just a little synopsis on what you guys provide for the industry.
Okay, so my name is Sam Carlson. I've been with Thunderbeast just over 3 years now. I wear a bunch of different hats. So you'll see me out at demoing our products with Ray. I go to a lot of the PRS and NRL matches to be a vendor and compete. And then if there's some guy asking about his load data, if it's going to be good for a can, guess who's answering the call? You're going to get someone like me, which is pretty awesome. But my title is basically marketing and social media manager. But I do sales, I do tech support, if the engineers give me something to test, I go test it. I kind of wear a bunch of different hats.
That's really cool. And you said something about Ray. So I know Thunderbeast Ray. If anybody doesn't know him on IG, it's Thunderbeast Ray. But talk about the ownership group of this place and how this all got started.
So it started in 2007. Shane Coppinger started in his garage. Ray told me a funny story that he would back out he had a hot rod of some kind. I think he told me it was a Camaro. They'd back it out and he had a lathe in there, and that's where they started. Shane's a Navy vet, retired actually. And then the other two owners are Zach Smith and Ray Sanchez. A lot of you might know Zach Smith. He has a bunch of old articles that were pretty popular, back in the day. And he's heavily on forums still to this day. If you see him on Sniper Side or ARFCOM or anything like that, the dude is a super genius. I feel pretty honored to work under him, just the way he thinks. Like all of our testing methods on our website, like we have this big Sound Summit thing, all that is him. So if you're ever going to look at it. And then Ray, they all started it together, which Ray's the one that hired me. So kind of give a shout out there, and he's kind of took me under his wing pretty good. Thunderbeast's goal when they were all match shooters. So this is like pre-PRS, NRL. Zach Smith runs Competition Dynamics, which is like the sniper matches. Like you're going to hike, you're going to get to a point and you get a couple minutes. Like, hey, there's some targets out there. You better find them and engage them. I don't know what size. I don't know what range. That's on you guys. So it's one of the toughest matches in the country. And he still does that today. Wow. So they all started doing that together. They all started long range shooting. And there wasn't really good suppressors for precision rifle shooting at the time. And there really wasn't titanium suppressors at the time. So like, hey, you know what? Like we love long range shooting. Why don't we come up with a really good precision rifle suppressor? So that's kind of where we've grown today. There's lots of great cans out there, but we kind of pioneered the super light and precision rifle suppressor, basically.
I'm on your website, and the one thing I will give kudos to before we even talk about how you guys make them or what you guys do. A lot of suppressor companies, which we've had on and we've done our research on, sometimes I notice they're afraid to put their stats out there, to put their decibel ratings out there. You guys, everything's right there. I mean, you have all the ratings, decibel ratings. So I commend you guys for that, to just being very honest and upfront about your cans, because not all companies like to do that, I've noticed.
You'll see transparency because there's some cans that beat ours in terms of suppression for very similar weight and length. Right off the top of my head, and it's just because he's a friend of mine, Andrew from Otter Creek, his Hydrogen L had us beat by like 0.8 of a decibel against our Magnus.
Dang him.
So, yeah, I know. He made I think it's quiet. It works really, really well. But that just shows that we're trying to be transparent. We just want everyone on the same playing field in terms of testing stuff.
Heck yeah.
You know, we get a lot of flack for, because we test in a big pole barn. Like, oh, good luck getting data. Well, we had a doctor of audiology come out that uses our pulse system, and he could basically show you this is when the wave is hitting the right wall, left wall, ceiling, floor in milliseconds, so we can get exact data regardless of what's around, basically.
Wow.
That's right.
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty interesting because you'll get all sorts of people testing from, oh, well, here's where we're testing from, or, oh, we're registering this at this certain distance or at this certain distance away. And I think you start looking at some companies and like they start testing at real far distances away behind the muzzle. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's always going to be pleasant for the most part. You know, what matters is give me those data readings as close to the muzzle as possible, to the shooter, actually, to the shooter's ear. But another thing that I think is interesting is you guys are manufacturing precision suppressors for long distance shooting. And it seems like in the world of suppressors, you have a couple boxes you can check depending on what your objective is. Of course, you have accuracy. Of course, you have silence. And then you also have a signature. And for the most part, you know, I don't care about signature for me. I'm not out there serving our country, you know, in foreign lands and worried that people see my muzzle flash. So to me as a consumer, I want it as quiet as possible and as light as possible and as accurate as possible. And it seems like that's what you guys are really doing.
Yeah. One thing that I think sets us apart is we check runout on every single suppressor we make. It gets chucked up in a lathe and gets an indicator, and then that actually gets logged for every can that's made. And I haven't seen a suppressor over 3 thousandths of runout in a long time. If I could give you a scenario where it did, I just haven't even seen it yet. Even our 50 cal suppressor, that thing is 22.5 inches long, and coming off the line, it has 2 thousandths runout.
Wow.
Which is really, really
Tight
hard
tolerance.
to do. Yeah, so it's a really, really tight tolerance. So, I mean, the fact that we're checking every can to make sure everything's 100% straight, as well as just if you already have an accurate rifle, the worst thing for someone is if they bought a product, a suppressor, a brake, put it on, and it makes it less accurate. That's terrible.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want that to happen, which it makes it a breeze. So being in sales and tech support, you know, we get those calls like, hey, I put your suppressor on, my group's opened up. And knowing that we check every suppressor for runout, it becomes super easy. Like, hey, it's not the can. There's something with your muzzle threads, or, you know, a long laundry list of components of why stuff could open up. But it makes it a breeze for our sales team, knowing like, hey, we know our suppressors are 100% straight. All of them get checked, you know, out in our QC process.
Nice. So, question I have for you guys, because this happened to me, unfortunately, with my very first suppressor after waiting 380 days. Take it out, and I had that god-awful, that baffle strike, and it was user error. So my question is, someone gets a baffle strike, what's the process? What's the warranty through Thunderbeast for that?
So under user error, warranty is kind of, it depends. If someone's owning up to it, I mean, our shop foreman is pretty good about cutting them a break. But the way all of our new suppressors are made, even the older ones, We strategically moved, let me make sure that let's just say we moved a component. So like, I want to make sure that Zach doesn't get on me for releasing I don't think it'd be too much information. I'm just trying to,
For sure.
But anyone that has a baffle strike, end cap strike, it's made to be repairable.
And there are indicators where you can see, it kind of helps you pinpoint some things and lets you know.
Yeah, sometimes from a picture from an email, someone has a wicked, baffle strike from incorrect insulation or bad threads or whatever. I can see it like, oh, looks like we're going to be able to repair that one pretty easy. So we actually, depending on how damaged it is, we will chop the stack off, re-weld a new one on, make sure everything's concentric, and then, you don't have to wait and pay another $200 tax stamp or wait a whole nother process. We're able to get that same serialized item fixed up and going again.
That's awesome. Now, when you said they first started, they would push out the hot rod and start turning everything on the lathe. Talking about technology, talking about new processes, is everything still hand turned on these lathes, or are they machine turned, or now are you into the 3D printing? Like, without giving away the trade secrets, what's the processes now?
We just have various different CNC machines that cut, baffles for different suppressor models. We have a really good engineering team that, they design pretty good baffles, and, we have a really good laser welder that does a phenomenal job making sure everything's welded good. And then along with our machinists and assemblers, that they know what they're doing when it comes to putting them together. But just simple CNC machines, nothing's on, an old lathe. Everything is on an LT or MX. We have a variety of different machines, for different, basically a bunch of different parts of our products.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. And that computerized system allows you to keep those tolerances in the thousandths, like you were mentioning earlier. And that's something it's a pretty big deal. Now there always is a little bit of a shift of POI when you shoot suppressed versus unsuppressed out of the same rifle. With yours, I've seen a couple people that I know that shoot PRS, and they actually have one of your Magnuses, and their POI shift is not that big, and it really makes me jealous. And for people that shoot suppressed, you shoot 100 yards, and I say 100, you shoot 100 with a suppressor and then take it off. Your POI shift might not even be noticeable. But when you actually start taking it out to distance, 500, 700, 900,000 yards, that fraction of an inch, just, it grows, man. And it constantly grows. So you always have to be on the watch for that. And I want to commend you guys for that, because y'all make a heck of a suppressor.
Yeah, we appreciate that. That's one of the other selling points, is we wanted it to be repeatable, not only for competition shooters, but someone that's using it professionally to either protect us or protect our country. Say it's in your pack, you have to have your system, short, collapsible. Well, when you put that can on, your zero needs to be the same, and you need to be confident that it's going to be so. So I've tested it myself at like one of my first videos when they had me doing the social media stuff. I'm like, man, I want to put every can on there and show. So I did. I put a video of, I think it was like on a 308 or something. I put our Dominus KSR, Dominus SR, Magnus, and 338. And barrel harmonics play a little bit of play. So I do run heavier barrels, of course. But between all four of those, my POI didn't shift.
Wow.
Which is pretty awesome. And then I've done it at big matches. If I go to a big PRS match, especially when we released our new Magnus RR, I was taking it off after every stage and like taking the brake off. Like people are like, whoa, why are you doing that? I'm like, oh, it's repeatable. I'm going to be able to get it on there. My zero is going to stay the same. I'm like, why would you do that? And then sure enough, I'd go to the next stage and, pull a 9 out of 10 or clean it. And I'm like, look, our products are made to be repeatable. And it took me a while to be confident, because I was pretty OCD. Like, you don't touch anything, you don't touch your brake, your suppressor, or whatever. And then, they allowed me the opportunity to make some videos about it. I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing. Even versus suppressed and unsuppressed. On some barrels, it's half a tenth or a tenth of a mil, which is very negligible. But barrel harmonics also do play a pretty big part on that. Say it's like a super light pencil barrel or a proof carbon barrel, you might get anywhere from 2 to 3 tenths. But the biggest thing is that it's repeatable. So if you put an offset on your Kestrel, your ballistic app, wherever you want, you can rely that it's going to be repeatable.
That's just mind blowing. That's mind blowing to me. Like that, dude, that takes a big set. I mean, to be there in a match, in between stages, take your can off, and it's like, to me, taking your suppressor off in any match, and I guess that's the difference between Thunderbeast and some of the ones I shoot, that's the equivalent of me taking like my optic off. Like, I'm just going to take it off and I'll mark it, so I'll put it right back in the same spot. I promise.
Should be good.
Like, it'll be close. Yeah. I mean, at that point, you're minute a man. I mean, that's just amazing.
But PRS, I mean, that's even scarier, because there's one thing, like, me, like, I'm all about minute a man, but PR, I mean, you're talking way more, so that's commendable. So looking at the suppressors, Sam, obviously direct thread's probably your best bet to be repeatable, to be precision, but what other lockup systems do you guys use for your suppressors?
So actually, that statement you made about direct thread, when I first started doing this in 2018, even before that, direct thread suppressors have been known to, like, that's what you want, that's the best thing. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, our direct thread suppressors, it doesn't matter if it's ours or another company's, they're known to walk off, and you always have to check them. So whether it's ours or another company's, like I say, for example, our CB brake, in my opinion, that's my favorite. Our directions, and I always get kind of like big eyes when I tell people this, but you install it with red Loctite 272 onto your barrel. This is semi-permanent. You burn out the barrel. Yes, you can heat it up and get it off. It always kind of deters people from hearing that, but the way we have the CB brake with the taper is when you tighten that suppressor on, all you need to do is get it hand tight, and it stays there. It just has a better...
Tapered is the way. It's shifting that way, and taper allows for good lockup, and it also ensures proper alignment.
Yeah, our SR, it's the same thing. SR just stands for secondary retention, and that's all it is. You actually don't even need to lock the collar. It threads and engages on a taper, and it's still going to work. The collar is literally secondary, and it just gives our suppressor a full auto rating, basically.
Okay.
Nice. But it works without locking the collar. I think Ray has a YouTube video showing that. I was at an NRL match, and a guy installed it incorrectly and damaged the collar a little bit, and he thought he was going to be able to run his can. And then when I showed him, like, no, you don't need the collar. You can actually just thread and use the taper, and you'll be fine. And he ended up doing pretty good, and he was pretty happy. So
good.
Taper's definitely the way, but there are, like me, like a bunch of dumb guys out there that bought other brands that have proprietary lockup systems. Is there any, do you guys have any adapters that would allow me, like, let's say you have a key mode or another system, is there any adapters you guys make that for guys like me that might already have muzzle brakes on there that have other cans that could then use your can?
Well, we make hub suppressors. Okay. So our whole Magnus line is offered in hub. So if you're set up with the ASR mount or Dead Air's mount, you'd be able to swap them pretty effortlessly. The only caveat to that is I'm friends with the Dead Air guys. I'm friends with one of the Silent Circle guys. Those guys are great. Their products are great, but we don't know their manufacturing process. So to make sure everything is concentric, we just can't guarantee it. When we started doing the hub suppressors, that was more to be for our, our more experienced, advanced suppressor users. But that lets it, be able so you can run all the different kinds of mounts.
Okay, nice. So there is the ability to do that thing, because that's the biggest thing with the suppressor companies now. It's like, you'll get certain guys that bought this can, then it's like, well, it locks up that way. And like now I'm noticing a lot of other manufacturers, not just you, are making a little more interchangeability or a way to at least make it easier, because now people are more likely to buy your cans when they know they can just lock it on and get it on there. So that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Sam, there's a lot of folks out there. Especially me, that are pretty new to suppressors, and like looking over your line, like it's easy to see that it's a premium product. So like someone who's kind of new, like what can they expect from you guys, that like what makes it premium? What's the difference we're gonna see versus a more like a more budget option?
So, I mean, all of our center fire suppressors are 100% titanium. Titanium is not cheap.
No.
And everything is manufactured with such great detail that you're like, everything's going to be perfect. Like I mentioned before, there's going to be, that suppressor got checked for runout. So, you know, some other companies, someone that, you know, people have known, like, I got this suppressor and the hole isn't in the center. So it's basically like a lot of stuff in the industry. In my trying to think of what we talked about earlier, it's more like buy once, cry once.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And then our suppressors are insanely strong too. You know, from our testing, there's a lot of really good suppressors out there. But as far as I know, for example, our Magnus is the only one you could run on like a 14.5-inch 300 PRC, which on that shoulder barrel just means how much stronger it is because it can take so much more uncorking pressure.
Pressure.
And then we're going to be, in terms of being lightweight and compact, we're really known for that as well. I mean, there's a lot of really new good suppressors out there, but I feel like we have a pretty good track record when it comes to, like, if you're wanting a precision rifle can, I think ours is definitely the one to look at.
All right, so I have to ask, because Matt over here is our resident AK guy. He's our AK goon.
Oh, Lord.
Have you ever known anyone to use any of your suppressors on AKs yet? Or have you seen one?
I haven't. And I've actually been bugging about wanting to do it myself, like putting our Dominus SR on an AK. And I guess the hard part is because the threads on the barrel are so close to that front sight post that you have to get an adapter. And, well, thread adapters are not the best. So you're kind of taking a gamble to make sure that everything's going to be concentric, because you'll have to either the threads will have to get fixed first, and then you'll have to use a thread adapter, and then you'll put the brake on. And then, as far as I know, I'm not an AK guru. You know, I mess with bolt guns are my thing. I mess with ARs a little bit, but you have to be able to adjust some gas too, right?
Yeah.
Typically, I mean, most of the time they're gonna run. They might be way over gassed, and if that carrier starts slamming into the back trunnion, it'll beat itself apart. It'll run, but it's
Doesn't like it.
You could just beat it back with a hammer. It's like AK.
But there is lots of options out there for adjustable gas blocks. There's actually gas pistons that are adjustable. So there's lots of gas management devices for the AK platform nowadays.
Actually, I take that back. So since I run our social media and we're tagged in stuff, my phone just goes off all the time and stuff.
Yeah.
Tagged in. And there was a guy that had Dominus KSR on a full auto AK that was, to me, it sounded really cool. To find the video, it's probably going to take some digging. But it looked like it was running and functioning great. In terms of, like, if we get asked that question, that's the biggest hiccup we see is just, it's either the AK they have, that thread is so close to the sight post, and then they have to get a thread adapter. But I love the idea. I want to get one myself and try to put one of our cans on it.
I'm telling you, Sam, if you could do it, Matt here would love to test it out because he has plenty of AKs. He would be your test dummy.
I don't think I have anything that's that concentric.
No, it's an AK. It's an AK.
I don't.
Maybe an American-made AK barrel.
Yeah.
It might be a little more concentric.
Yeah, get with Mark Krebs. He does all of his own threading. I've heard that he puts it on the mark. So
he's killer.
I've heard that name before. So I think we've actually referred. I think I might have an email where I've referred to him just from working in the industry, and then figuring out the go-to for that.
Yeah. So
but that would be the ticket.
I was going to say, in the AK world nowadays, you've got two guys in the U.S. just making big waves, and they're both getting a little long in the tooth. You got Jim Fuller, and then you've got Mark Krebs. Mark, we had him on. Mark actually got to go over to Russia and the USSR and actually hang out with Mikhail Kalashnikov and actually see facilities and all that. Like, Mark makes, and it's an amazing
Cool
AK,
stuff.
and I'm not an AK guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you ever wanted to do something, that would be the guy I reach out to.
Yeah.
Man, I'm looking kind of moving just down to your smaller stuff, going into your handguns. I'm looking at the Fly 9 and the Fly 45. Not actually getting to play with these personally myself. I see that the Fly 9, it's a 2-piece. So you can actually, is it kind of a configurable thing where you can run it in a shorty style or in the long, and you just sacrifice a little bit of dB by taking the extension off?
Yeah, exactly. I actually have what I keep here.
Heck yeah.
Show and tell.
We love show and tell.
So it's just a simple VP9. And I leave the Fly 9 in the short configuration. I only run like the 165 subs through it anyway. And I feel like it's just a really good, I don't know. I'm just really comfortable with the system itself in the short configuration. The long is definitely going to suppress a lot better. But for me, for keeping it compact, and I have it, this is on my nightstand kind of thing.
Nightstand, yeah.
That's awesome. Heck yeah.
Or I have it in my truck center console because it fits in there with the suppressor. And then I can lock it.
Nice.
You start putting that extension on there, and you're going to knock your glass of water off the nightstand and the lamp and everything else.
Anytime that you can have a suppressor on your handgun for your night gun or your truck gun, that's a win. And that's a win in my book. That's awesome.
Oh,
yeah. To me, I mean, it really doesn't. This length still feels pretty compact, and that's just what I personally like to. I've trained with it. It feels really good shooting it, and obviously not going to have it in a holster or anything. So
yeah, you're not going to appendix carry that one, are you?
And
I mean, I could if I was brave, but
And the website says 5.5 ounces in that configuration. Ooh. So like, there's compensators out there that are heavier than that.
Yeah. So that's what's different about this pistol suppressor versus others. So we can't guarantee it on every pistol, but I've actually been able to have it work on, including this one. It works without a booster.
Wow.
It's so light that it doesn't need a booster to function. There's several different, bigger, more popular, 9mm pistols out there that it'll work on. We just can't guarantee on every single one. I think there's a couple of Glock variations I couldn't get it to work. Like it worked on a 17, but it wouldn't work on a 19, but then it'd work on a 19X.
I think the spring is because the 19, I think the 19X and the 17 is 18-pound spring. I think it's a little heavier spring in there.
A little heavier.
Yeah.
So looking at the pistol suppressors, if we moved into the craze, the carbine stuff, the sub stuff, the AR9s, the MP5s, you name it, all of these carbine caliber sub guns, this would still be the recommended, the Fly 9 or Fly 45, depending on your caliber. That's still, if I had an MP5 and said, hey, I want to do this, like that's I want to buy a Thunderbeast. That's what you'd recommend still?
Yeah, I'd recommend either the Fly 9. If we're talking about MP5s, the Fly 9 would be perfect. But the Magnus line we offer in 375. Ooh. So basically any of those cans in 375, and it comes in hub. So you can put a tri-lug adapter in it or, whatever adapter you want. It's going to run good. And before we released this whole line, we tested the first Magnus 375 on an MP5, and it was just unreal. Yes, it was a little bit large, but it kind of influenced the Magnus line in 375, it's going to be a super durable can, and then it's going to be able to suppress 9mm as well. Cool. So if I was putting something on the MP5, I'd use like our Magnus K 375 or our Magnus S in 375. That's something I would personally want for that. Although the Fly 9 is still going to suppress really, really well on that platform.
So we know a guy that has a full auto MP5. He might be in this podcast right now. Would that one work no problem as well on a full auto?
Yeah. The Fly 9 is full auto rated.
Perfect. Mike, there you go.
freaking rad.
Man, yeah, I find it humorous though with a lot of suppressor companies. I think it's great that you guys rate them too, but when it comes down to it, when people, I think it's interesting when people ask if the deciding factor is full auto rated. Adam and I were talking about this earlier, and he was saying, hey, we were actually talking about, I think we were talking about your Magnus.
It was we asked about titanium rated.
Yeah, we were talking about the Magnus, and he was talking to me about it, and I was like, yeah, here's MSRP on it, and he was like, well, is it full auto rated? And I said, well, I'm not really paying attention to that, but who cares? And he said, well, what do you mean? And I said, I don't know. To me, Thunderbeast, I'm sure it can do it, but there's a couple can brands out there that those aren't my choices for full auto, even if it can do it. And the reason I say that is it's like, man, it's like pulling the parking brake on your Corvette and trying to do a burnout. Like, why? Like save that for, the rent-a-car, the lesser priced rent-a-car. Like the Thunderbeast is the Corvette. Like, let's not try to rag this thing out. This is a precision piece of machinery. It'll do it, but it's known for accuracy.
Yeah. Well, like the Magnus line, the only ones we recommend is full auto rated, and it has to just do with the mounting option. It's actually the Magnus CB and the Magnus SR, the same exact baffle stack. It just, one has a different mounting option. The secondary retention is basically what's giving it that full auto rating. Our brakes too as well. The SR brake is stainless, and it can act as kind of acts as a sacrificial baffle, so it's not tearing up that titanium as much. So the suppressor, like a regular Magnus CB, you'll be able to handle it. It's just the mounting option that gives it the full auto rating.
That makes sense. Yeah. Cause I'm looking right here in your specs on it, and it's, God, that's crazy. A 5.5 inch, 300 blackout barrel. It'll take it full auto or sub. Just looking at everything else, 8-inch barrel takes everything semi-auto. 10.3, it'll take a 5.56 full auto. I mean, it's like you guys do all the testing, and I think that's interesting. So I kind of want to talk about your engineering. So you guys actually have guys in-house that work for you that, these are the cans that have made it to the market. There are cans that have not made it to the market because all engineers like doing some wild stuff. And it's like, yeah, we made one. We're not ready to make that yet. But you guys actually do all the testing in-house. Like you said, you take it out to the range, you do your thing. You've got, audiologists that come out and, show you how to measure these things, and they do the technical data. Like, this is all backed by science, correct?
Yep. And just like you're mentioning, everything's in-house. So everything that we manufacture is in-house. We don't send parts to get made off anywhere. The only thing that we send to do anything outside is the DLC coding, which we're just not set up for that. It's hard to get a place set up to do DLC coding, but everything is in-house. Even our engineers, I think our lead engineer has been with the company for around 10 years.
Wow.
And he studied IED blasts for his undergrad. He'll probably beat me up for not knowing it. But he did some crazy testing regarding blasts and how it was affected on armored vehicles. So he understands blast and blast flow, which carries into like our baffle designs are heavily influenced on how he, how smart he is on knowing how to control the blast and gases basically. And then our other engineer, super brilliant dude. Same thing. You get those two together. They actually race together. They do like the lemons race.
Yes.
So when you get those minds hanging out together, like even outside of work, that they're going to, they got really good cohesion. They're going to work really, 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 really well together and come out with some awesome products.
It sounds like they'll work well together and also have that competitive nature that they want to outdo the next one. So it's constantly pushing your own limits and constantly bettering your company and your products.
Exactly. Yep. They're very competitive.
So Sam, the DLC coatings you're talking about, do all the cans come in all different colors, or there's just certain models that come in certain color? Can you kind of like when you order pick and choose how you want your can?
So we do the air dry Cerakote, which is the C series.
Mm-hmm.
Any C series Cerakote, we can get it in. I think if you get one of our suppressors from a dealer wherever, and it's in black, but you want it in some other color, you send it to us for $40. We'll paint it whatever color you want.
Gotcha. Okay.
But the main colors, black, FDE, OD green, and Surge brown. Those are the top colors. Anything else is a custom color. A really cool color that I've seen that people have picked every now and then, and it's because Vortex has that Razor Gen 3. People get that burnt bronze, or Vortex burnt bronze, and it actually looks pretty good.
It is a cool color.
Pretty cool color.
So with the recent, wait times coming down on suppressors, when that hit, how did you guys see that impact? Was it like, we better hire more people? Was it like double time? Was it, we're okay? Kind of, how did that affect you guys when those wait times plummeted?
Oh man. So right when that was happening, that's right when we released the new Magnus line.
Oh.
So, and I've been getting beaten up by our customers for weeks because, anyone that I put an order in for them, I want to get their suppressor as soon as I possibly can. Sometimes there's stuff out of our control. Like, surprisingly, there's a lot of bad material out there. Like if you get titanium bar and it has a bunch of marbling, basically where it's going through tooling a lot easier, or it has pinholes, which that's another part of our QC process that not a lot of people know about. Like we're making sure our material is perfect as well. But in January, when the Fast Form 4 approvals happened, we released the Magnus line. And it was just kind of a big boom. And this is across, I think, all suppressor companies are experiencing it right now, that everyone's getting their Form 4s back quicker, and we can't get suppressors, out fast enough, basically. So going into SHOT Show, I think we had a 4-month production backlog, which is very small for us. We've always kind of had, been pretty busy and had some kind of production backlog. We're at 3-4 months, and just after SHOT Show, it bumped us out to, I think, 9 months. And then now we're sitting at 12 to 14 months.
Dang.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm a dealer through Silencer Shop, and I was just checking everything, and it's like, it's a great thing to have the problem of, hey, they're sold out, but it's also a bad thing because, the bleeding heart, you want to have these suppressors in stock for everyone to buy, but you also have to be a realist and say, hey, there's no physical way we can supply the masses with all of this stuff and stabilize our processes and expect that to hold in 5-6 years. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's a good problem to have.
Demand,
sold out though.
Yeah. The demand's really high. And I mean, we have gotten a couple new machines. We've beefed up our shifts significantly. I mean, we're doing everything we can. It's just the demand is just super high. As well as us releasing the brand new Magnus line. We kind of ran into some hiccups with our QC process is what we're known for, right? You're buying a high-end product. We want everything to come out perfect. Well, the first batch of RR brakes, the coating was not up to snuff. Like it was wearing off. And this is for like the people that ordered the first day of SHOT Show, and like this is happening. So you're like, oh man, like this is going to cause like a 6 to 8 week, lead time to these guys' orders. And it is what it is. It's out of our control, but we got it all fixed and whatnot. But just little stuff like that is, that you just cannot control, has been kind of a bummer for me getting excited and selling a bunch of our cans to, fellow competitors or hunters or whatever. But, we've gotten through it and got some machines up and going to where we're really playing catch up now.
Good.
Well, hopefully the way things work out soon, maybe one day it'll be where everyone can just walk into a store.
Hopefully.
Even if you have to pay the tax stamp still. We were talking to someone the other day about it. Why you can't just walk into a store, pay that tax stamp, which is still unconstitutional and it's crappy, but pay it and then walk out the can that day. That would be nice to get to that point.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I think that's the hiccup is, you're spending anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 on a can that you're not going to see for a year. Like all the 4-4s I have, they've all been at that 13-month mark.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a big bummer, but it does make you really excited and appreciate it when you finally get it.
Oh yeah.
But
that phone call, that's like one of the best phone calls of your life. Like I could think of like some really important things that happened in my life, but that phone call when the suppressor came in is probably up there.
The best call I ever got was, hey, we got your stamp back.
Yeah, your stamp's back. Come get it. It's a win.
So Sam, looking over the website, I mean, you guys literally everything from 22 to 50 BMG. You have an option for it. There's and mostly suppressors. There's some like integrated upper stuff, it looks like, and a bipod. Like, is from, if you can speak on it, Thunderbeast Arms Corporation. Is there any other product lines that you guys are looking into or have coming out that is not suppressor related?
No, everything is suppressor related. There's always something that our engineering team is working on in research and development. So, I mean, they're always coming up with something. We don't know if, say they build something and it doesn't, whenever we make something, we want to make it industry leading. That's just what we want.
Amen.
So if we make something and it's not really going to be that much better, there's really no point to make it, basically. So they just try really hard. So, they're working on stuff there for sure. As for the integrated suppressor you're talking about, that was our DSU that got discontinued, I think, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Which the DSU, it's basically just a stainless 5.56 can on a 10.5 upper. It's pin and welded. Really neat system. I've got to shoot it a little bit. It's pretty cool. But the Dominus SR basically just negated that. Like, why are we making this when we have a lighter suppressor that's stronger? It kind of just took that over. The bipod, the bipod is, this has actually been our best year for the bipod. It's really taken off in terms of popularity. Believe it or not, I don't even have one with me. For one, I let a media guy borrow mine. We're so backlogged on them. I couldn't get him one. I'm like, here, let me send you my personal one so you can use it for, an event or two and get some media on it. And then a buddy at work is borrowing my other one. But it's great. That's my number one pick for my bipod for my PRS rifle. So I always have that on there. And then I always have a double pull sky pod in my pack for when I'm doing field matches to where you need significant bipod height.
People underestimate the importance of a good bipod. I can tell you right now, especially like on a battle rifle or any kind of heavier gun, people want to skimp on that. And I'm not dogging some other companies that make a cheaper one you can go buy. It's in the store. They make magazines. Well, they're cool. But I'm telling you,
for your flat range and for your recreational guy that doesn't have too much experience in the long range shooting stuff, there is a place in an entry level for a Magpul bipod or whatever it is. There's a spot for certain people. It meets a budget. But when you actually get into repeatability, comfortability, adjustability, all those different things, then it's like you got to step your game up.
Once you use a good bipod, I'm telling you, you can't go back. You're gonna it's worth. You see why it's worth the money for a good bipod, hands down.
Yeah. It looks like, though, looking at everything, you guys, your bread and butter, you make suppressors for everything, all calibers, but your bread and butter is, of course, all the PRS stuff. Looking at everything and doing some research, like out of like the top guys in the sport, like a vast majority of those guys are using Thunderbeast. If that doesn't, tell our listeners something, it's kind of one of those, if you're wondering what kind of suppressor, what kind of like if you want to get into PRS before you go buy your first rifle, go watch a match, walk around and see what everybody's shooting. Check out the calibers, because people will shoot a bunch of different calibers. Check out the rifles, check out the optics, because the worst thing in the world is to go out and buy something, that you think's going to work, and then you show up, depending on your level of competitiveness, you show up and realize that you're outclassed before you even get out of the car. But, you know, if it's for recreation, just one time doing it, man, run what you brung, do it and have a good time. But if you actually want to take it serious, you start getting into these things and you'll see a lot of people run that stuff. Man, it's a telltale sign when a lot of the big guys run that stuff. Are you doing any of the, is Thunderbeast a part of any of the extreme long distance stuff, like the 2 mile stuff? You know, what's the farthest shot you've taken with a Thunderbeast?
So I just did my first ELR match last year. I think it was called the KRG Extreme. It's here in Wyoming. It's basically like a sister or brother to the Night Force ELR match.
Uh-huh.
In terms of all of them, we sponsor all of them. Like, we're putting certs on the table, we're sponsoring them. But that was my first time ever shooting an ELR match. And Ray basically gave me this AI that's chambered in 375 Swiss P, which I actually have one here, which I can compare to, I don't know, 6.5.
Let's see this bad boy.
So it's not going to look very big. So 6.5, that's with a 153
It's not that big.
Well, I mean, it's smaller than a 3.38 Lapua in terms of...
Yeah, a little bit.
So it's basically like a 3.38 Lapua necked up to 375, and I think has a little bit shorter case. He gave it to me the week before, and I had 1 hour to get dope and get a ballistic profile for it, so not much time. And I actually did pretty well. I think there was like 160 guys. I think I got 15th.
Wow.
And we shot to 2,400 yards.
Okay.
Wow.
And both days was 25 to 30 mile an hour winds. So it was a tricky day, but that 2,400 yard target, if I'm not mistaken, I think I got six out of 9 or 5 out of 9 or something, which I was pretty ecstatic with. I was actually using a suppressor, the new Magnus line, in 375, the full length. And there's video. To me, it didn't feel like I was shooting some large Magnum. It felt like I was shooting like a 308 with our Magnus RR suppressor on there.
Nice.
And Phil Vallejo, if you guys are familiar with him, he was there doing media coverage, and they put a spinner at 700 yards, and everyone was struggling. Like, people couldn't even get on the plate. And with him filming it, I got it to spin, and I got 9 out of 10 on it, which I think there was only 5 people that could get it to spin.
Nice.
So we got a pretty cool video, which kind of, I don't want to say viral because, you know, social media doesn't like the gun world very much.
No.
But it did get quite a few views, and it got shared around quite a bit, which was pretty awesome. But when you're seeing me shooting, you'd think I'd be shooting like a 308 or something, but it's just moving very, very little.
Nice.
Which was pretty awesome.
That's awesome. We've got a friend of ours who does the ELD stuff. Her name's Ray, and she's shooting that 2 mile stuff. And I think hers, what is it, a 375 Shytac?
I know Ray. She's come by our shop.
Nice.
Ray's awesome.
Cool,
she's
Ray.
super awesome, and she does all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'll never compete against you. Like, you'll blow all of us out of the water.
So, Sam, when you're not, as a competitor, like, what is your go-to round? Like, if you have to pick one round as your favorite round as a bolt gun guy, what's the all-to-do-all round for you?
So it's, man, I have what is called long-range autism when it comes to calibers.
Yes.
Because I love trying everything. Like, I started on 308, went to 6.5, 6 Creed, shot the 6 Dasher and 6 BR for a long time. But now for the last year and a half, all I've been shooting is 6.5 Creed. When we released the new brake can, so I started doing this in 2018. Typically, everyone shooting matches, they had about a 15 or 16 pound rifle. I mean, there wasn't weight kits, heavy barrels, there wasn't high BC bullets, but it's kind of changed. So, if I have I shoot for Team XLR, so I run their chassis, which you could put weights on. I'm not running all of them. Having it a little bit heavier is going to be easier. But 6.5 Creed has been like the money maker for me. I've won a couple local matches this year, and I've actually did pretty well in the PRS this year. day one at the PRS finale, apparently I was tied for 5th after day one.
Nice.
And everyone's shooting Dasher or 6GT and 6.5 Creed with the 153 Burger. Running it kind of slow just seems to be like the money spot for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously running a Dasher or a BR, it's going to recoil significantly less, but having a Magnus RR can and then have a little bit heavier gun, to me, it doesn't move and it feels like I'm shooting a Dasher.
Kind of mitigates some of that recoil and some of that back pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. In the 6.5, I just, you know, in PRS, when people are shooting, like no one's allowed to give corrections or whatever, but when you're back with your squad, like that's why I like the PRS is I like the brotherhood and like everyone's trying to accomplish something. You know, if he comes off the stage and be like, man, I think it was like a 10-mile-an-hour wind out there, or like I had to hold this much at this target. At the finale, there's more times that I'd follow someone where they're holding like pretty well off a plate to where I was straight up on a troop line going from 3 to 800 with the 6.5.
I mean, 6.5 is just, it's such a versatile round because also, I mean, you can take that same round and you can go hunt with it. You know, it's such a, that's what I like with that round. It's such a versatile round. It kind of, being in the military, I'm active duty Army. I think that when the Army started going with bigger calibers now, I'm going back to a bigger round. I think we try to reinvent the wheel when there's already a great caliber out there. In my personal opinion, kind of is a do-all round. I think 6.5 is definitely a win.
Yeah, I don't have a man bun, so so I'm saying that I don't have a man bun, so just clarifying that. Vouching for the 6.5 Creed.
There's a reason that they say anything Creedmoor, they call it Killmore, and like this coyote was 6 mil Creedmoor. Between those two calibers, like there is so many different load variations that you can, between 6 and 6.5 Creedmoor, like you can do work on pretty much anything on the face of the planet.
Yeah, my first 6 mil doing the PRS stuff is I got a 6 Creed and I was running those 115 DTACs at about 3,000, and that thing is just kind of like a laser beam.
Cooker.
Yeah, the wind is not moving that thing very much. I mean, the 6.5 and 6 Creed are just pretty solid cartridges, in my opinion. I still have a Dasher, and I mean, I think the barrel I have it over there, I haven't spun it on all year, so.
Yeah, no need.
Nice.
No need.
So, Sam, is there any other shooting disciplines that you enjoy personally?
So I've done one pistol match just for fun, but in terms of time now, I've got a 4-year-old and we just had twins.
Yeah, congrats.
This February. So my time has been really slim. And I'm a match director too.
The house. You're lucky to leave the house.
Oh, I'm
now we know lucky. Why he's down in the basement.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, I would love to. There's been some. I think you guys had him on there. His name's Hunter No Hands.
Yep.
He's
yeah. Dude, he's awesome.
It looks like he has a really fun match that I would love to go to, but I kind of have to pick and choose my battles.
Yeah.
This year I felt like I did really well, making it to the PRS finale, shooting really well. That next year I really have to decide, like, well, what do you want to do? Because I do plan on going to the Night Force ELR, the KRG ELR match for fun and do it more for work. But there's a lot of NRL Hunter matches that are close too. I'm a match director, so I have a monthly PRS regional match as well. And I have to just strategically pick, like, hey man, you've got to choose. You got to choose kind of one or the other. And I'm having a tough time.
Which bullets do I buy this month?
But yeah, you've only got enough time in the day. You got to pick which one you want to do. You can't overcommit with all the family life stuff and work and everything else going on.
Understood.
Yeah. So Matt typically asks a question at the end of every one of our shows. And before he asks that, I kind of want to take time once again to ask you more about these, just touching over on the products. I was reading this and it's just one quick little thing, and it's probably because I'm just big dumb. Reading on this 50 cal, I was reading about the semi-auto use on the 50 cal, and then it's like, oh, hey, by the way, reading at the very bottom, and I just want to know why your Barrett's not going to operate properly.
Yeah. So I think we got 2 or 3 M107s, and we couldn't get them to function very well even without the suppressor. We tried messing with springs. It'd be like one would work and then another one wouldn't. So that's our biggest thing. We wouldn't want people to pay $5,500 for a can expecting to use it. So ultimately, the suppressor was solely designed to be a precision rifle can, which, for your AI or your KDEX, or I think Falcor has a really awesome system that looks like they're coming out with a really good 50 cal bolt gun. That's really what it's made for.
I think that's great though, because that's that transparency you talked about in the beginning.
Yeah.
You very easily could have just said, hey, here's our 50 BMG can, but you advertise, hey, our test hosts and AI, here's the readings we got. But hey, if you own a Barrett, it's not going to operate right, and it might void your warranty, because it says, hey, you might void your warranty and you'll probably damage your rifle. And it's like, you're looking out for people that, ultimately aren't going to buy that can from you because of the transparency and just the honest work and the work ethic you guys have. So I think hats off to that.
Yeah,
I mean, I would rather someone turn me away of a sale and tell me you don't want it because it's going to mess you up, rather than take my money. Yeah. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we're known for it too. Like someone earlier last week, they asked, hey, what suppressor do you have for my MP7? And I'm like, you're going to just have to get the B&T can, I think is going to be the best one.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a TBAC employee, like if we don't have something that's going to fit your purpose, like we'll give you a good model to go to,
That's right.
You probably got something that'll work, but like, why try to hybrid, why try to hybridize your can and say, oh, well, I mean, this one will shoot 5.7. So enjoy it. Like, nah,
or some companies will just white label it off to some other companies so that they have a solution for it. So but
that same customer is going to come back to you and probably buy another can for another gun that you can, that transparency, honesty goes a long way. Like for me, I like dealing with honest companies. So yeah, you might not be able to sell me that can, but when I want to buy a 30 cal can, guess what? Yeah, you got something for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love that.
All right, Sam, I think it's about that time. This isn't an original idea to us. Admittedly, we've taken it off of other creators, but it's a lot of fun. And I think it shines some light, regardless of what we're doing out here. I think it's fair to say that we're all gun guys and we all judge each other by what kind of guns you got or are interested in. So we're going to do top 5 guns, my friend. They don't have to make any logical sense. It doesn't have to be something that you own currently. NFA doesn't matter. The cost of the ammunition doesn't matter. Give me the 5 guns that you're going to have for the rest of your life, hypothetically.
The only 5.
Only 5.
Only 5.
Only 5.
The only 5, huh?
No special situation. It's not like the zombie apocalypse or anything, but maybe that could happen still. But 5 guns. What are you taking with you?
Well, the owners are going to kill me for this one because they're strong accuracy international guys. Yeah, I have one behind me. But my number 1 pick is going to be an impact action from Tate Streeter. That's my go-to. I mean, it is just down, super reliable. Tate's not only a great manufacturer, but he's a really great person. So I'm all about supporting that. And then I've used his products in the harshest of conditions. So in terms of a platform utilizing an impact action in whatever chassis or whatever, that's the main component, which is the firearm component. So that's my number 1.
Awesome.
Okay. Number 2, I do like Accuracy International, but I am definitely putting them at 2 just so they don't kill me later.
Smart move. That's a business decision.
Another one that I've got to work with because they're right next to us and they've been super helpful to me is the Aero Precision and Stag guys.
Nice. All right.
They've given me loaner rifles for my match. They work really well. They're inexpensive. They can get everyone in the gate, whatever shooting discipline you're getting in.
Yep.
That would be my number 3. Well, that's all kind of long guns and gas guns. So number 4, let's do a pistol. I would say that new Oracle Arms, that 2311.
That's a
see, our
bold
boys
pick.
got
I like
some
that.
flavor. There's some flavor in there. I see you.
I like that.
I like it.
Yeah, so that would be one that I would definitely. I've got to mess with one.
That runs the P320, the P320 mags, right?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, just an awesome feeling handgun. Big fan of that one. And then number 5, to keep it interesting, how about just a high point? So if you run out of ammo, you could just throw it at them like a brick.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
My man. I love it.
So Sam hates shotguns. We always mess.
He hates
so
shotguns
Sam
and
hates
AKs.
shotguns.
It's all right.
Yeah, but you know what? He doesn't need a shotgun. With all that ELD stuff, like he's got whatever's coming towards him gone before
Love
they
it.
even know he's there. So
Awesome.
I love it.
Good choice.
Sam, we appreciate you coming on the show today. Before we get out of here, where can they find you? Where can they find Thunderbeast? Plug away.
Yeah, our website's pretty easy, thunderbeastarms.com. Has all our info. We're known for our customer service. We answer the phone. We answer emails within the same business day most of the time. We don't work weekends, so if you email us on a Saturday, sorry, you're going to have to wait till we're back in. In terms of social media-wise, I'm kind of all over Thunderbeast's Instagram and Facebook. My handle's Dad to Sam, which is pretty easy to find. And then it hasn't been shadow banned as far as I know, but the Thunderbeast one is TBAC, so TBAC _suppressors. And that's where we put a lot of content, as well as it's kind of cool how we do this. They've let me do what I like about our products and presenting them on Instagram and Facebook. Ray does really long videos in terms of our sound testing to show that nothing is manipulated in any way, shape, or form. So that's where you can like see all the data in different calibers and different platforms, and then it's showing how we're doing the process. And then we do have an original TBAC YouTube page, which I'm firing back up to just do for advanced users. You know, we end up forgetting about this, but like, what is a suppressor? Well, how's it mount? What are muzzle threads? What's a thread pitch? Really, really basic stuff we're working on, updating that so we could be a go-to page for very, very beginner level suppressor knowledge.
That's awesome. I want to touch on that real quick because like suppressors are super confusing, and what works with what and what doesn't, it can be debilitating. And I'm sure like some people just give up before they ever make a decision. So that's really cool that you're putting that information out there, even for beginners. So thank you for that.
Yeah. That just reminded me, I'm putting a shout out to Andrew from Otter Creek because he posted it. Someone sent a 350 Legend through his 5.56 can.
Oh, Lord.
And he made a meme about it. He's just like, what about this suppressor that says 5.56? Did you think you could put a 350 Legend through?
Well, because 350 is low, because 350 is lower than 5.56.
Lower numerical value than 5.56.
Isn't 350 smaller than 5.56?
Awesome. Well, Sam, man, thanks for taking time through your busy schedule with the work life and the family life. Congrats on the new twins, all that good stuff. And man, if you ever have any news from Thunderbeast and want to come back on, you're welcome anytime. We appreciate it, man. We can't wait to see you at SHOT Show. Yeah, I'll be there this year. I had my twins during last SHOT Show, but I'll be there. So if you guys come on through and stop by. Awesome. Well, and guys, if you listen to the end, make sure you are subscribe to Whiskey and Windage, YouTube, Spotify. It goes a long way. Leave a comment. If you're an asshole, that's fine. We'll delete the comment. But either way, we appreciate you. Guys, like we always say, stay dangerous, carry a weapon. We'll talk to you soon. Man, appreciate it, Sam. We just hit stop.